Minecraft mountain terrain is often very underwhelming, but when I stumbled upon this seed, I was so inspired. The tall mountains and steep cliffs gave me so many ideas, and I can't wait to get started on them and share them with you. Let's go check out the build. Starting out with this build, I knew that this was going to be a very big project, so I loaded up the World Edit mod to help me out with some of this planning, using the wall command and set command to place multiple blocks at once and create a bunch of these flat walls for our plan. I am building this massive kingdom during my midterm exams. As usual, whenever I have exams, I am like crazy inspired. I don't know, I can't make this up, I'm just crazy, I guess. But it does mean that I get to use this inspiration to create something beautiful. So once the plan is in place, I can begin on all of that wonderful detailing. I want this castle to be very epic and very tall, almost very overwhelming, but I don't want to over detail it. So I focus my details on the edges and on the roofs and leave the walls pretty generally flat because this castle is a background to the kingdom. It's not really the main focus or the centerpiece per se, it's a backdrop. So having those towers looking very good and very epic in the background fog is what is of utmost importance to me here. This is a fantasy themed castle, and so along with that comes a lot of really cool things you can do. I experimented with so many different shapes, huge archways, different roof types, lots of different styles of detailing going on here, and I loved every second of it. Building like this for me is just so refreshing. Often I find myself building on a smaller scale due to time restraints with school and various other things, and it's so nice to just let loose and do whatever I want in the game, and truly just create it the way that I want. The World Edit mod here allowed me to do that and be able to actually keep up with my exam work, because it did speed up the process quite a lot in creating these massive walls. The detailing on this castle was a bit tricky, especially with the roofs. Everything is sort of sloppily connected together and you have to sort of make it work with the stairs and slabs and other details. Once that's done, it's time to focus on our entranceway, and this is where things get a little bit weird. I decided to make a diagonal building with a tower attached to it. This seems to kind of block the entrance, but the way the terrain is here had me really inspired to do a curving staircase entranceway up to the castle, and I think that ended up working splendidly. Now we can focus our attention down on this plains biome. Now, of course, this biome was originally a village, and I was planning on doing a village transformation, but the village only spawned with like 3 houses, so that's kind of boring. Let's add more. We're starting with a plan. First, just a plan of sort of the buildings that are right around that castle entrance, just to get a good feel of how I want things to look and to flow. I try to add little elements of the castle down in the village to help with the continuity of the entire build. And then once that's done, we can start planning even more. All of these yellow buildings you're seeing here are all going to be houses, and you can see I'm trying to experiment a lot with a lot of different shapes. We've got even numbers, we've got diagonals, we've got lots and lots of different shapes going on here, and that's going to make the city really feel alive. Once that is in, we're finally ready to start building up these city structures. Now you'll know these houses are pretty tiny, right? In comparison to what I usually do especially, and in comparison to the castle itself. The castle is massive, it's got a huge vertical height. The houses don't, they're really tiny, they barely even have a foundation. So why did I choose to build the city so tiny? I mean, it's expansive, it's got lots of variety to it in shapes and size, but overall, everything is pretty underwhelming and under-detailed. That's because I wanted these houses to look good together. Each one on its own is kinda lame, you're right, but together they look good, and we have different focal points throughout the city, like different towers, a church, a wall, a dock area, a farm, a marketplace, and all of this together where we focus more details on these center areas really help the whole build flow and come to life without me having to detail every single house like it's meant to be the best house in the village. That's just not true. All of the houses are not the best houses. We have focal points, and that's going to be really important. Alright, how about we take a breath and slow down for a minute? let's look at what we're actually building right here. As you can see, I've planned everything out that I want to do in-game. Now it's really rough, but it makes sense in my head, so that's fine. The orange, that's the fire. Those are the buildings that are going to be destroyed. The red is the wall, pink is farm, and so on and so forth until we've got everything. I have to plan like this because, as I've already said, I'm writing exams in college, and that can be really challenging and it really takes my brain off of the build. So how do I only build for like 15 minutes at a time and still stay focused on the entire project? Well, planning and some horrible drawing skills. So we've got the castle in the background and a gradient going forward towards the lower class, a simple dock area, some farms, some walls, entrances in and out, and some important focal points. All of this together keeps my head focused on where it needs to be. Now that we're done with the main village, we can focus on some of the other assets just outside the walls, starting with some gateways and then moving on to a farm. A simple little windmill design makes for a really good border on the outside, and having a farm just makes sense. I mean, this village did originally spawn with farms. Granted, they were lame, but we can make them better. And now it's time to focus on more of our gates. Having walls bordering the city I think was really important. It makes it look a lot more defensive, even though in reality this is a fantasy castle. It's not truly going to be super defensive as a medieval castle would be in real life. Then moving on to a simple dock area with some boats, a crane, and some basic wharves. Some crates and storage areas and more simple details really pull this together. The main thing I want to note here is this entire build sort of looks like a gradient, right? In the background you've got this big, tall, massive castle. And then as you come more towards the front, things get a lot smaller. So I sort of, after the walls, built this little slum area that's got these smaller, lesser detailed houses again. And that kind of helps this gradient kind of flow down from the mountains. And that makes the flow of the build so nice in my opinion. Now that we've spent about 12 hours building up this city, it's time to add some destruction, and my favorite way to do that? Dragons. I have a tutorial on building dragons like this if you'd like to see it. The main struggle here was of course the scale of them. In order to fit with the build, the dragons had to be kind of tiny, which makes the shaping and detailing awkward, but still possible. My main inspiration for this entire build was the movie The Hobbit, Game of Thrones, and also Harry Potter. So, of course, lots of fantasy elements and dragons are a must. These fire-building dragons, one swooping over the city, burning it, and one perched dangerously right on the tallest point of the castle, really bring the build together in my opinion, and bring in that lovely fantasy element that it was missing. Of course, once the dragons are in, then some of our detailing involves tearing down my houses. But that's okay, I think it makes them so much more lifelike. And once this is done, the build is complete. Welcome to the end of the video. I really hope you loved this build as much as I do. I wanted to give you some quick fun facts about it just right at the end. There are 49 unique houses in this build. Everyone was built individually. I didn't copy and paste any of them. The castle is 121 blocks tall. I spent 18 hours building this, and it took 6 hours to render the clips. A really long time when you have exams, but it makes for a nice break and some good YouTube watching. I really enjoyed the process of creating this. It was truly so much fun. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, and thank you again to the actors in this video who helped me out last minute to get that cinematic put together. I love you all. Thank you again. And I hope I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!